Someone hands you a theme park tomorrow, not a share in one. The whole thing. The gates, the coasters, the parking lots, the smell of fried food at 10 in the morning. And of all the businesses a person can be handed, this one looks the most like a machine that prints money. Think about what actually happens at that gate. Thousands of people arrive. They pay to come in. Then, once they're inside, they pay again. For food, for drinks, for a souvenir photo, for the shirt, for the parking space they left the car in. They arrive already committed. They can't easily leave. And every single one of them walks in expecting to spend money. There is no cold calling, no sales team, no convincing. They queue up voluntarily and hand you cash. So here's the question this episode exists to answer. If that's what the business looks like, how did a theme park that cost $400 million to build go bankrupt in 5 months and sell for $25 million? Not $25 million profit, $25 million total, about 6 cents on the dollar. Let's open the ledger and find the other $375 million. Start with what you're actually buying, because it isn't rides. A theme park doesn't sell roller coasters. It sells a day. And specifically, it sells a day worth driving 2 hours for. That distinction decides everything that follows. And almost every failed park in history got it wrong. Now the build. Land first, and a lot of it. A real park needs a few hundred acres, and it needs to be near a population that can reach it and come back. Then the invisible half of the budget. Parking for thousands of cars, roads, water, sewage, power, at a scale closer to a small town than a business. Then the rides. And this is where the numbers turn strange. A roller coaster costs anywhere from $3 million to well over $25 million for the coaster alone. A complex indoor dark ride, the kind with animatronics and projection and a story, runs $20 to $30 million and can go far higher. And you don't need one. You need a whole park's worth, plus the theming around them, because a coaster sitting on bare concrete is a fairground, not a destination. Add it up honestly, and a serious regional theme park lands somewhere around $400 million. Put it on the ledger, $400 million, and the doors haven't opened. Here's where the money-printing machine idea usually takes over. You built it, now the crowds arrive, and you collect. Except a theme park has a problem almost no other business has. It doesn't sell all year. Let's open the second half of the ledger. Most regional parks operate somewhere around 100 to 140 days a year. That's it. Roughly a third of the calendar. But your park exists for all 365. The property taxes don't pause in November. The debt doesn't pause. The insurance doesn't pause. The maintenance crews certainly don't. Winter is when the heavy work gets done. So every dollar you earn has to cover roughly 3 times its own length of time. Put it on the ledger and remember it, because it makes everything below hurt 3 times as much. Staff. A park of this size runs on thousands of employees at peak. Ride operators, food service, cleaning, security, mechanics, entertainers, medics. And because the season is short, most of them are seasonal, which means you don't just hire them once. You rehire, retrain, and recertify a small army every single spring. Forever, then maintenance. And here the standard is unlike anything we've looked at on this channel. Every ride is inspected before it opens. Every operating day, without exception. Steel gets tested. Components get replaced on schedule whether they look worn or not. A single coaster can cost $100,000 to $500,000 a year just to keep running safely. Multiply that across a park full of them, and you cannot economize here, not a little. Because the moment safety slips, you're not running a business with a problem. You're running a news story. Which brings us to insurance. You are inviting millions of strangers to be thrown through the air at high speed on machinery you own. Liability cover for that is exactly as expensive as it sounds, and it renews every year, regardless of how flawless your record is. Then utilities across a small town's worth of land. Then marketing, permanently, because a regional park has to physically pull people from 100 miles away every season. and last year's advertising doesn't work this year. But none of that is the thing that kills theme parks. This is, your rides are not assets. They are reasons to visit, and reasons to visit expire. Think about the customer. They came last summer. They rode the big coaster. Why exactly are they driving back this summer? The park is the same, the coaster is the same, and your entire business depends on them coming back. So you buy a new one. Every year, or near enough. This isn't a theory. Look at what large park operators tell their own investors. In its public filings, the company behind Cedar Point described spending $80 to $90 million a year on new rides and attractions, every year, across its parks, and stated that capital spending plus maintenance together consumed 16 to 18% of revenue, consistently, year after year. Sit with that, roughly $1 in 6, off the top, permanently committed to buying novelty. That's the treadmill. Your profit isn't profit. It's the deposit on next season's attraction. Stop paying it, and attendance doesn't hold steady. It slides. Because you've stopped giving anyone a reason to make the drive. Put it on the ledger, not as an expense, as a subscription you can never cancel. And on top of all of it sits the one variable that no amount of planning touches: the weather. Your season is short. A run of cold, wet weekends in the middle of it doesn't dent your year. It is your year. There's no making it up in December. The park is closed. Now let's go back to that park that sold for 6 cents on the dollar. Hard Rock Park opened in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in April 2008. $400 million. 7 years of planning. Coasters themed to Led Zeppelin and the Eagles. The Eagles and the Moody Blues played the opening. Reviews were good. Guest satisfaction was strong. The projection was 30,000 people a day, 3 million a year. They didn't come. By September, 5 months later, in the same weeks the financial crisis was breaking, the park filed for bankruptcy. In 2009, it sold for $25 million. New owners reopened it under a different name. It lasted a single season and closed for good. The rides were dismantled and sold off individually. The land was eventually rezoned. A $400 million theme park became a distribution hub. And read the post-mortem carefully, because the recession is the easy answer, not the real one. Analysts brought in afterward concluded the project had never been viable. Wrong concept, wrong market, wrong price point. The theme was narrow. It didn't match the tourists who actually came to that town. And it sat within reach of Orlando, meaning it was competing, indirectly, with the most formidable parks on Earth. The park was built on the assumption that if you build it, they will come. They valued the assets at $25 million. That is exactly what they sold for. Now the other side. Because when a park works, few businesses are better. A well-placed park with an evergreen brand is close to permanent. Parents bring the children they were brought as children. It has real pricing power. Season passes, premium queue access, hotels, parking, food. The land appreciates. Attendance compounds across generations. That is why the great parks are worth billions and almost never change hands. But now change 3 things, none of them exotic. A cool, rainy summer costs you 15% of attendance. A recession trims what families spend once they're inside. And a competitor opens 2 hours away with a taller coaster. Your season didn't get longer. Your staff still had to be hired and trained. Every ride still got inspected every morning. The insurance still renewed. And you still owe next year's attraction. Because skipping it means the following season is worse. That's the whole trap. Costs that are fixed, safety critical, and non-negotiable, sitting under revenue that depends on weather, on the economy, and on whether people feel like driving. And if it fails, there's no soft landing. A theme park is a single-purpose asset. Nobody wants $400 million of themed infrastructure for anything else. The rides get unbolted and sold one at a time to other parks. The buildings come down, and the land goes back to being land. So let's close the ledger. $400 million to open, a third of the year to earn, Thousands of people to rehire every spring. Every ride inspected every morning. $1 in 6, forever. Buying the reason people come back at all. Now go back to the beginning. Someone hands you a theme park, the closest thing in business to a machine that prints money. Thousands of people, arriving voluntarily, ready to spend. And that part is true. The gate really does work like that. What nobody mentions is that the machine only prints while you keep feeding it. New rides, new reasons, new seasons. And that the day you stop feeding it is the day the queue starts getting shorter. Next time, we open the ledger on something that costs almost nothing to run, sits quietly, doing very little, and can still take everything you have.